Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome back. I had just asked you at the end of the last video to fill in the profit column for me. And I'm going to switch over and show you how I filled in the profit column. But before I do that, I haven't really explained why we're doing this. So what we're trying to figure out here, and I should have done this at the beginning of the first video, but I kind of am new to this, so I'm out of sorts. But we're trying to figure out what a firm, or how they should behave here. And remember, what's the goal of any business that you guys have told me a million times? They want to maximize what? They want to make what? They want to make profit. They want to make more profit, the most profit that they can. That is the goal of any firm for us right now. So calculating the profit and seeing what firms can earn is a huge thing for us. So that's kind of why we're doing this. Now, the different market structures all behave a little bit different, or at least the firms in those market structures behave a little bit different in how they come to this conclusion because they're just a little bit different. But with perfect competition, we want to figure out where we can maximize profit. So if you did this and you figured out your total revenue minus your total cost, hopefully your profit column came out to look something like this. All right? Now, if I just simply asked you, well, how many avocados should Mr. Sutton produce given these profit numbers, I'm hoping that you're going to tell me one of two things, 6 or 7. Because if you look right here, we get the highest profit at 17. So the question is, do we produce 6 or do we produce 7? Well, I'm going to show you the answer here in a second, and hopefully it comes out to be 7. And the reason it's 7 is because we can get our maximum profit, we get the most profit here, and we produce we get our most profit here, and you're going to see something else that's going to occur as well. So what I want you to do now is I want you to look at this marginal revenue here. So we figured out marginal cost, where we looked at the change in total cost over the change in quantity. So we looked at the cost that came from producing each unit. Now we're going to try to do the same for revenue, where we look at what the additional revenue is, what the additional dollars coming in for producing each unit are. Anybody want to take a stab at how we would do this? I'll remind you, marginal cost, we looked at the change in total cost over the change in quantity. What do you think we might do for total revenue? Any takers? We'll go change in total revenue, TR. I'm not going to type it here. Actually, I will. And change in quantity. So you do the very similar formula to your marginal revenue, or your marginal cost. So let's see if I can get that all. Whatever. Change in total revenue over change in quantity. Why don't you take a second and see if you can go and figure out what your marginal revenues are just down this column for each unit. All right? Go ahead and give that a shot for me right now. I'll wait here. So you should notice something here, hopefully, that's interesting. Any takers? Any takers? So here I'll fill in, or I'll come over here and I'll look. So if you look, for the marginal revenue of the first unit, when we went from making $0 worth of revenue to making 8, the change in my revenue was 8, and the change in my quantity was 1. So 8 over 1 gives me 8. If I come over here, and I look, when I go from the first unit making 1 avocado to selling 2 avocados, I go from 8 to 16. That's a change of 8. My quantity again goes up by 1, so I have 8 over 1 again. Then I go from 16 to 24, that's 8 again. Quantity goes from 2 to 3, that's 1. You're starting to see a trend here. So for every quantity, we see that the marginal revenue is the same. The marginal revenue is in fact the same as the what here? The marginal revenue equals the price. This is unique. This isn't true for every market structure. But for perfect competition, marginal revenue equals price. And that's a huge thing that you need to remember, because in a second I'm going to make you graph this. All right? And now I want you to go over here. I want you to look at the profit. I'm going to make you do this right now. So what was the change in profit here when we went from 0 units to 1 unit? Well, if we look here, we had a -4 profit when we made 0, and we went to 2 when we made 1, so that looks like a change of 6. We went from 2 to 7, that looks like 5. Why don't you continue on and see if you can figure out the rest here. Well, to me it looks like it goes 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2. Now the reason I make you do all this is because I want to point out a few things for you. I would like you to notice that when we look at the individual unit cost here, the marginal revenue and the marginal cost, I want you to think for a second. Like, think of the cost, okay, the cost here, but think of your revenue as a benefit. So every time you sell a unit, you get $8. That's an $8 benefit. And for the first unit, you get an $8 benefit and a $2 cost. Well, that seems like a pretty good deal, right? So you would say, oh, well, I would do more of this avocado thing if that's the deal. You know, go to the next one, your benefit's 8, the cost is 3. And so notice what happens to your marginal cost and your marginal revenue when your profit is maximized here at 17. If you look, your marginal cost and your marginal revenue are the same at your highest profit. So here we find out that we should produce 7 units. This is like a pretty huge rule here for you. And you should probably write this down somewhere. And I'm going to write it right here. MR equals MC. This is your profit. Profit maximizing rule. All right, you got to know this. This is a huge rule. So from here on out, if you want to know where a firm's max profits are occurring, MR equals MC is what you have to know. All right. Here's what I would like you to do. On the back, so you should have on the graph on the back, I want you to have your marginal revenue. Also, I want you to go ahead and graph that for me right now. That's going to be what I'm going to have you do now. So on this graph on the back, you should have the marginal revenue graphed, you should have the marginal cost graphed, and you should have the average total cost graphed. Okay? Those are the 3 things I would like you to have graphed on the back. I'll hold this up here so that you don't have to flip back and forth between the 2 charts. But that's what I would like you to do. Sorry, I'm going to go over here just real quick and double check that that's what I want. Yep, okay. So, those 3 things right there, MC, MR, and ATC. That's your job right now. I'll go back, I'll put the chart up for you. And then we'll get back together, okay? I'll leave that there for you. So you're graphing 3 things. Go, go, go.